Welcome to this week's Flippinar. I appreciate everyone that's come out. Others will be joining a little later. But we don't waste time here. We're going to go ahead and get into it. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so we're live. So you see today's topic. Again, welcome to this week's Flippinar. Hope everyone has had a good start to the new year, 2017, and looking for a lot of great things to continue on with what I've done in the past. And obviously you're here, you want to learn some of those things to take you to the next level in your, I guess, growth in real estate and obviously financially. So today's topic, as you see for this particular Flippinar, is wholesaling houses with taxes, mortgages, or liens. I was talking to one of my friends earlier today about when I started, and it's been so long, and I could do this stuff in my sleep, especially with houses, and I don't know if I would have known or understood if a property has taxes, a mortgage, a lien, or whatever. Did I already understand that it had to be paid off first before you get paid? Not that it has to actually be paid off, but at closing, that check will be cut and then everything else dispersed off of what's left based on the price or whatever. But she said, well, most people understand that even if they have never done anything in real estate, most people have purchased a car, and you know that if you owe something on a car and you're trying to either sell it or trade it in, you know that existing debt, that existing loan has to be paid off first, regardless of what happens. Whether you're going to be upside down in that car, you're going to sell it at this price, but you owe this much, and you keep the difference. Everybody understands that, and that's no different than houses. I said, well, I get that question a lot. Can I wholesale a house, or what happens to the mortgage, or can I wholesale with a mortgage, or whatever? So that's why I was thinking, would I have known that? I don't even remember if I did or didn't, but I didn't know anything about real estate. So, but again, so this is a commonly asked question that I received. Can I wholesale a house if it has a mortgage? Can I wholesale a house if it has back taxes? Can I wholesale a house if it has liens? So tonight I'm going to go into detail and answer that. Obviously, I'm going to actually do the numbers and hopefully it'll make sense. Some of you all may already know this, so this may not be the Flippinar for you. Now, you may want to stick around, obviously, for the question and answer period, along with the free 2 free courses that I'll give away at the end of the Flippinar. But this is tonight's topic. So just do a little house cleaning. Just a disclaimer here. Obviously, if you don't do anything, most people understand this, but we still have to say it. If you don't do anything, you're not going to make money. Whether it's $10,000 or $1, you're not going to make any money. Most people understand if you don't do anything, it's not going to happen for you. Again, we'll be giving away 2 free courses at the end of the Flippinar. Don't let me forget. If you could amen that in the chat room, you're not going to let me forget that. So remember, obviously, I get this question a lot, and I hadn't done this in a while. So I'm going to open it up. Some people want the coaching and training where I come to their city. It's a possibility that I'll do it, but it's expensive, because it takes me away from what I do, which is do deals in my market, and just what I have to do on a day-to-day basis. But some people would prefer to do that. I was talking to a recently student that signed up, and he paid this guy X number of dollars, which was way more than what I charged for my coaching and training. I said, man, I would have come to your city and, and trained you face to face personally. for that amount of money. And he can't even talk to the guy. You know what I'm saying? He can't even communicate with him through email. And he paid 5 figures, for the information, but I get those calls all the time, though. I'm amazed. I'm just amazed. I was watching, and I remember from the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington, and I didn't think about this, but that's my mindset when I started doing this. I wanted to produce a product that was better, at least in my mind, better than the competition, but also at a lower cost than the competition. I think I've accomplished that. I don't know of anyone that puts out the amount of free content that I offer and offer actual coaching directly from me at the price that I offer and the way that I do it. So I may have accomplished that if I haven't done anything else, with this little hobby of mine as far as the coaching and training. So the option is available if you're interested in it. I'm not going to quote a price because it'll change. If you're interested in knowing what that would be, if you want me to train you in your actual city, you can call or text me at the number here, 205-492-3425. If you want to come to Birmingham, it doesn't matter. It's still going to cost you the same thing. So you might as well get the training where you're going to actually be doing deals in your city. So just if you're interested, boom, just contact me. Like I said, I'm not going to quote a price, but it's not cheap. It's not going to be the prices that you see for the online courses which come with coaching. You'll get the training, obviously, but if you want me to come to your city and basically treat it as if I was going to start doing business there, then that's an option. We still have this property available in Ohio. You still can get that referral fee, $8,500. Someone on the Wendy's is close to collecting that $11,500. Hopefully that pans out. We have a buyer in place. But if you're still interested in collecting that referral fee, it's still available as of right now. All right. If you want to get into commercial and flip some of these yourself and learn to do it the way that I do it and the way I teach it to a few people, you can go to flipthisbuilding.com. As you see here, which I have an actual video on this, a recent video on YouTube, that you can go through all of these steps here, 5 reasons why you should be wholesaling commercial real estate. So you see there's on the screen, low competition. You can do it virtually, a sea of opportunity, no cash or credit needed, and obviously the big fat paydays. Again, don't let me forget about the 2 free courses at the end of the web Flippinar. You need a private money lenders. You can go to privatemoneylist.net, enter your phone number. The next page, Keep Yakking, will go into what the service offers. I use the Real POF fund, the proof of funds. You can get that at Real POF, which I'll discuss that later. All right, so my goal here tonight, whether you're involved in real estate already or don't have a clue, as I didn't 14 years ago, my goal here tonight is to educate you on what is wholesaling and what the benefits are financially. And I'll share with some of the things and how it changed my life. But just a quick definition, and hopefully it makes sense. But what is wholesaling? Wholesaling houses is basically understanding how to control real estate with a contract at a discounted price, and either especially when you're talking about houses, a cash buyer basically buys your contract from you for several $1,000s, which there's no cap on it. So just to take you through a quick deal. You locate a property, whether it's through research, driving around, through advertising and marketing, through banner signs, direct mail, online, social media, whatever, and you and the seller agree on a price that, from your due diligence, is a smoking deal. You then place the property on the contract with that seller, a purchase and sales agreement, which all real estate transactions start with that. Okay, so once you have it under contract, you then advertise the property. You don't even need a buyer's list to start. You advertise the property and you start to field calls because you've negotiated a smoking deal. When I say advertise the property, it may be online or offline or a combination of both is what I would suggest. But you advertise the property, we'll just say 15 people call you. You can only sell it to one person. So to start with some numbers here, the property in excellent condition would appraise for $100,000. And for whatever reason, you can get that property on the contract for $30,000. I know it sounds weird if you've never heard this before, but you get it in the contract for $30,000. I'll give you some reasons why someone would be that motivated to do that. In most cases, the property needs repairs. It may not need a lot of repairs. It may be livable, but it needs some repairs. Okay, and one of the reasons could be they inherited the property. Parent died. They live in Seattle, Washington. The property is in Tampa, Florida. They don't ever intend to come back to Tampa. And the property is not an asset, but it is more of a nuisance to them because they're continuing to pay taxes on the property and sitting there vacant. You reached out to them via direct mail as an absentee owner. They called you back. You agreed on $30,000. All right, that's one reason. Could be a situation where a person was fired off their job. It was a rental property. It's been sitting there, or they haven't been able. They haven't had a tenant in there for 6 months, and they don't have the money to do the repairs to get it back into shape to rent again. But they need the $30,000 just because they lost their job, or maybe a situation someone has a medical situation. Their insurance won't cover their entire surgery and they need money quick. And the way to do that is sell something quick. In order to sell it quick, you're going to have a quick price. That's another reason. So just give you some reasons of motivation on why someone would sell that cheap, because a lot of people don't believe that's possible. So you get it under contract with the seller for $30,000 and you market the property, we'll just say at $47,500. You advertise it. All right. So a buyer steps to you and say, hey, I can't do, they take a look at the property. I can't do $47,500, but would you accept $41,000? Okay. I'm saying yes. My follow-up question, how fast can you close? And so what you want to hear as soon as you can get a clear title. All right. So that should be 7 to 10 days max in most markets. All right. So you place the property in the contract with your buyer for the $41,000. So now you have two contracts. You have one for $30,000 with the actual seller that's in Seattle, and you have a contract for $41,000 with the cash buyers, which is normally going to be local there in Tampa. And so you go to close, you set up the closing, and you submit both contracts along with what I call a closing detail sheet, and that includes the information on the property, the address, who's the seller, who's the buyer, how much you're going to get paid via an assignment fee, who's paying the closing costs, and you submit that. So when you close on the property, the seller receives $30,000. You receive $11,000, which is the difference between the 41 and the 30,000, and the buyer gains possession of the property to do whatever they would like to with. That's a wholesale transaction. You made $11,000. Okay, so is this something that you should be doing? So I have a couple of examples here. Student in Memphis, Tennessee, which I have an actual video on YouTube. And the reason I keep using these examples is because I actually have interview testimonials on my YouTube channel that you can do a search for this actual transaction for this student, which was his first deal. So just wanted to give you an idea of the ridiculous return on investment when you are wholesaling. He advertised on Craigslist that he buys houses. Not a very effective way to do, but he got fortunate and got a call. I think it was one of his first contacts. And so the seller of the property, it was a husband and wife, and they were moving, I think, out to Texas, and they bought a rental property, and they were going to repair the property and rent it out, but they were moving, they were relocating. So relocation is one of the reasons people are motivated to sell and sell cheap. long story short, he placed it under contract, put a $10 earnest money, and found a buyer for it. He closed this in, I think, around 25 to 27 days. He made $6,440. $44. All right. If you just do the return on investment based on the $10 that he gave them in earnest money, the return on investment is 64,344%. Student in Baltimore, similar situation. I think he found this property through, if I'm not mistaken, what you'll see on the interview, I think it was through either bandit signs or direct mail. Gave him a $1 earnest money. As a matter of fact, that $1, the seller, when he mentioned it, the seller thought that he should actually pull out the money and give it to the student, to my student. But anyway, he gave him the $1. Long story short, he bought in a partner that produced a buyer, and the total take was $32,000, and they split that 50-50. So the total return on investment was $3,199,900%, which is basically infinite. All right. Now that's wholesaling. That's the return on investment. Now, obviously, you can make money flipping properties, and I have over here on the left an example. Say someone invests in a property with the purchase, the repairs, they are $50,000 in, and they sell it for $80,000. So that's a $30,000 spread. So the return on investment is 60%. Okay, here you had risk. Here you had no risk. You had $1 risk. And you look at the return on investment versus the return on investment. Obviously, you can make money with both, but that's why I encourage people always to, in my opinion, to start out wholesaling, whether you have the cash or credit. It doesn't matter. Start out there because it teaches you how to locate great deals and how to always at least have the mindset going in not to use your cash or credit. You may have to end up doing that if you want to start flipping, but wholesaling will allow you to position yourself to do those things. You can go in the direction if you want to go into rental or investment properties, or if you want to go into retailing, which is basically buy, fix, and flip. So, but the return on investment obviously dwarfs this. I just like to show that, to let you understand the power of just using techniques versus your actual money to make money. All right, well, who am I and how did I get into this? I always like to share this. I think it's interesting. If it's not, I'm open to criticism, but I'm an entrepreneur first. And wholesaling on real estate is one of the only couple of ways I've ever been able to make any significant money. I did do so in the gold business a few years back, but that was short-lived. But with real estate, it's steady Eddie, because we have to have somewhere to stay, and businesses have to have somewhere to house their business to sell their products and services. But I'm not one of these people that has always been an entrepreneur since I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and I sold garbage bags door to door, or sold lemonade, or raked people's yards for money to do it. I was a late bloomer in my mind. It didn't happen for me until my late 20s. While I was in college, I had the brilliant idea of take some student loan money and start to buy used cars. So I actually just researched. This was before the internet. I'm not even sure how we got by before the internet, but researched and found out how to get a dealer's license. I guess that's what books were for, huh? But how to get a dealer's license. And I actually obtained one when I was in college and started to go to dealer auctions. Those cars, they could be 10, 15 years old, and they would look brand new. They would make them look brand new. But the thing is that they would look brand new, but they would still be a piece of junk, a lot of them. And if you're not mechanically inclined, or at least have someone working with you that is, you would get, beat out of your money. And that happened to me too many times. So that was short-lived. The next thing was of any significance was mobile car wash business. 1995, went to Daytona Black Beach weekend. One of my brother's friends met us there from Orlando. He had been doing it a while, a mobile car wash, and he was doing 6 figures. That was back in the mid-90s. and I couldn't wait to get back to Birmingham to put the same thing into motion. So basically, I found out about it on a weekend, and probably within 2 to 3 weeks later, I was in business. That's just how I am. I'm not going to mull over something that long if I have the resources to do it. I'm going to go fast forward on educating myself as much as possible on something like that. Normally, I can educate myself within a few days, especially now with the internet. So when I meet people, and I'm not disparaging you, everybody retains information. You have to move at your own pace. But when someone says, I've been studying this for 10 years or 2 years or 6 months, I'm like, wow, I'm just amazed. But anyway, so long story short, was great during the summertime. In the wintertime, I couldn't do it. It just wasn't. Cold water and in the winter doesn't work for me. So fast forward, got into some multi-level things. Always was thinking of what I thought were great ideas to start a business with or whatever. But at the end of the day, in a lot of cases, then a lot of this was still before the internet. It took money to do it. It's not as easy now versus the internet versus when we didn't have it, in my opinion. So fast forward to 2002, one of my friends and his now wife were going to school to become real estate agents. And the instructor that taught the class generally was absent, and the guy that replaced him, the substitute, he didn't talk about being a real estate agent. He talked about investing in real estate, which can be totally two different things, and creative ways of investing in real estate without using your cash and credit. So my friend mentioned a couple of the things to me, and I didn't act on them at that time. That was in October of 2002. So a couple of months later, I was at my mom's house for Christmas, waiting on her to prepare breakfast early one morning, and I saw I was up watching TV, and I noticed one of Carlton Sheets' No Money Down infomercials. And if you're in my generation, that was a common thing on the weekends on multiple channels. And I caught it about halfway through one of the infomercials. And I thought to myself, he can't be lying about all of this. So I found one I watched the one that was about halfway through, and I found another one that went from beginning to end, which is the same thing, and it really didn't tell you anything. It just teasers, Carlton helped me make this much money, blah, 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 but it really never even told you anything. So back then, my mom didn't have internet, and I waited till I got back to Birmingham to go to this message board that I used to frequent and ask the question, does Carlton Sheets program really work? And one person replied, yes, it does, but Ron LeGrand's course is better. And so I did a search for his name, found his website, and at that time his course was $1,500. It didn't come with any coaching or anything, but I didn't know that existed anyway. So a lot of money for me then, and I didn't have it. So I found they had a condensed version of, I guess, all the courses, or I think mostly on wholesaling and lease options. And it just was a teaser, promo type audio. So I ordered that. It was roughly $80 with shipping total. It was $69.99, $80 with shipping. And I received that. It was in cassette tape form. So I listened to that, and all it did is convince me, hey, this is something I can possibly do. And so I had made up in my mind then if I had to get a second job, I would save the money to buy that course for $1,500. So a couple of days later, I thought about eBay, and I said, let me do a search for his name. And I did, and there were a couple of auctions there with that same course that he had advertised on his website. And so I bid it on the auction, lost the auction, and the guy that was running the auction contacted me and actually did I want a burnt version of a CD copy of the course. And so I agreed, we agreed on a price, and he shipped it to me. And it was a lot of information, wholesaling, lease options, retailing, which is buy, fix, and flip, subject twos. He had a for sale by owner portion in there. It's just a lot of information. And so I felt I needed to go through all of that. even though what I found out after going through, I was on information overload. I found out that what really attracted me and what stuck in my mind was the wholesaling and somewhat of the lease option. And also what really attracted me is that this is something that if I advertise, people would call me and it would just take over from there. And he suggested bandit signs. And so a Walmart had just opened, and inside the Walmart, you know how most Walmarts in the front part of the Walmart, they have spaces that they lease out, and a sign shop was leasing a space in there. And I didn't know what bandit signs would cost, but I paid $250 for 50 signs, which is vastly overpaying for signs, but I didn't know any better. And they're a lot cheaper now anyway. But so I ordered those signs and got them back on a Friday, and I put them out on a Sunday morning and started getting calls that next day, that Monday. The first two calls that I received, one of them was a lease option opportunity. The second one was a wholesale opportunity. The lease option opportunity, the seller met with the seller. He was a situation where his mom left the house, still was a mortgage left on the house, but he wasn't living in the house. A decent house, needed some repairs, but a decent house. And I didn't know any better back then, but it definitely was livable and desirable for a certain type of individual family. So we did a lease option. I explained the entire process, that I would put a tenant buyer in there, I would collect a down payment, and that's how I would get paid. And I would charge them a little more than what the lease payment was on the mortgage payment was on the property. So I explained the entire process to him. So I advertised the property, had a lady respond that she wanted to move her family in there, and she gave me $5,000 cash down. I could have stopped then because I had failed at so many other things before that, all I needed to see that this was real. It was weird. It was just a weird feeling. And so the guy that owned the property, he was a handyman, and there were some things needed to be done in the property. And so I just thought, just making it a win-win-win for everyone, that I would recommend him to do that work for her. On top of that, he needed the actual owner of the property that he was living in. He wanted to refi his property, and one of my friends that I worked with, I was still working then, he did mortgages on the side. And so I hooked them up. And so again, win-win-win. So my friend mentioned to the owner of the property that I had found a tenant buyer, and she had already given me $5,000 down. So he was furious because he thought he should get at least half of that, if not more, of that $5,000. And that wasn't what it was explained to him. And that's not what he signed. Anyway, so when he met the lady over there to discuss the repairs, he came to throw her off his property, told Tyrone didn't own this property. He was going to call the police, blah, blah, blah. So she called me crying, just upset because she had thought she had been scammed. So I told her, just, where are you right now? I'll bring you your money. I had already spent about $700 of the money. And so I had to come back up with that money. So at this point, I wasn't making money now. So I had to come up with $700 to complete her $5,000 to give back to her. So I met her, gave her money, apologized to her, and she was good. She really wanted the house, asked me if something worked out, just let her know, but I knew that was it. So I called him. He and I got in an argument. Last thing he said to me, if I ever see you again, it won't be pretty, or something to that degree. And so anyway, so that deal fell apart. So the second deal was an actual wholesale transaction. Two sisters. Their mom left them a house. Like many people, we're not going to sell mom's house. We have a lot of memories here. And they rented it out to relatives, and you know what happened. They didn't pay them, tore up the house a couple of times. So going back and forth with that over a couple of years, they decided, hey, we're going to sell the house. So they called me. We agreed on $20,000. And when I went to go sign the contract with them, I showed up in my 1985 Toyota white convertible Celica, and they actually thought I had the money with me. And I had to explain, no, it doesn't work like that. We had to go through a process. So they were fine with that. They signed the contract. I advertised the property in the newspaper. That doesn't work anymore. Newspapers are dead, but back then it was okay. And I had this realtor call me, told me he had a buyer that would pay, a client of his that would pay $25,000 for it. I explained to him that I was wholesaling in my position. So he said in order to release his buyer or mention it or bring his buyer to the table, he would want half of that. So instead of me making $5,000, I ended up making $2,500. So I met them in a shopping center parking lot. They signed a contract, gave me a $500 earnest money, told me, what attorney would handle it for them. And a week or so later, we closed on it, and that was my first $2,500. That was March 5th, 2003. So over the next 12 months, did about 10 deals. I probably could have quit then, but I was afraid to because I had quit the same job before. They could take a sales position in a cemetery, and nearly starved to death. And they basically a year and a half later, I had the opportunity to get the job back. A few managers spoke up for me, and so I felt obligated to stay there. And so basically for the next 3 years, I was doing deals. I was still making the money I was on the job, but it just got to a point where, I was easily doing 4 times what I was on my job. And I thought I made pretty decent money, and so one day I came in, and after a split shift, I used to work 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. off for, 11:30, 7 a.m. to 11:30, and come back at 3 o'clock. It's called a split shift, 3 p.m. to 6. So off of one of my splits, I came back in, and one of the supervisors said something to me that I didn't like. And so I thought to myself, say, hey, Ty, you don't have to do this anymore. And I called the clerk's desk, told her I wasn't feeling well, and I reported out for the next 2 weeks. On April 30th, I think it was a Sunday, I took a resignation notice there. I printed out 2 copies. I put one on the clerk's desk, one on my supervisor's desk, so they wouldn't call me. And officially, I dropped the mic on May 1st, 2006. And that's been 10 years ago, going on 11 in May. Like many of you, especially the entrepreneurs, you probably have failed at many of businesses, and some of you are probably successful. You're trying to do something to add on to what you're already doing. It's from a very small town, less than 1,000 people. Definitely no smarter than you are. Probably the only thing is that I've just taken action. I don't ponder on things a long time. Once I educate myself up to a certain level, I understand that I'm not going to know everything. I'm going to make mistakes. I still do. But what I've discovered that there is I'm not going to say it's easy, but there's an easier way of doing things. Most people think that you need tons of money to start doing real estate. I never even considered, as entrepreneur minded as I was, I never even considered real estate because I thought you needed great credit or lots of money or a combination of both, and or a real estate license. Most people still think that. That's one of the more common questions that I get. And then a lot of people, they feel like they need to know everything before they make a move. I have students that have gone through the training and feel like they need to know everything. And the reason that you will pay me is so that you don't have to try to feel like you know everything. They always want to know the first thing you need to do. Okay, you did the first thing. The second thing you need to do is get that phone ringing and start to talk to sellers. I make it easy for you. I'm just saying it, if you were a student, make it easy for you because I provide a script. The only thing you're going to do is just collect the information. Let them know you're going to call them back that day or the next day. You and I'll discuss it. I'll tell you what to go back and say to them. The more that someone does that, the more comfortable they're with speaking with sellers, number one, but also knowing what's a deal and what's not a deal. All right. Now, I'm not a book reader. So a lot of people read books. It's rare that you're going to read a book. It's going to tell you everything you need to know, especially when you start talking about books that are real estate based. They're normally just upsells. And I'm not hating on them, just telling you it is what it is. And most people, obviously, you have a job, whether you have one or you don't. Some people like their job, some they don't. I didn't dislike my job. I just wanted more. I was very appreciative and felt blessed to have the job that I had because it was a decent salary. At least I felt it was at the time. So it paid my bill. I'm not someone that lives an extravagant lifestyle, no matter how much money I'm making or what I don't desire a lot. I just like to have the option to do things, and I don't want money to be the reason I can't do it. It may be another reason. I don't want money to be the reason that I can't do it. So whatever that number is, that's my definition of being comfortable. So, and I've went to seminars, as many as you all have done. They come to any town of any significant size. I haven't been one in years, but even after I was doing deals, I was still going to seminars, and not really thought I was going to learn any more information about the process itself of doing deals, but really just different marketing techniques. And I found out these guys were definitely were no smarter than I was. Not that I know everything, and I'm definitely always open to learn, but it was a lot of BS. That's the only way I can say, and it's just a consistent upsell. As I said, I spoke to a student just on yesterday, and what he told me he paid and what he got for it. I'm like, wow, man, you know what I'm saying? So that's why when people, and some of you may have spoken to me and stuff, and I think I'm pretty nice when it comes to me, but people just want me to get this stuff to them for free, and I do give it to them for free, but my time, I can't. I just can't. And they say, well, why we partner, blah, 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 on a deal, and, you get paid then. Yeah, that would make great sense because it'll be more than what I'm actually charging. The problem with that is that sometimes stuff happens in your life that you can't pursue. You can't pursue it anymore, just out of your control. Not that you don't want to do it, but something just happened and you can't do it anymore. So if that happens, and I spent this time with you, when I'm not compensated, I haven't been compensated. So instead of risking that, we just make it clean. And plus, I also had to take myself back to when I started. I thought it was worth me making the sacrifice. And not saying that that's what someone has to do, and you don't have to go through me by no means, but I thought it was worth me making the sacrifice to spend that money, and it's still the best investment I've made into myself to date. I don't know if I ever spend that small amount of money and recoup the type of return that I have over the last 14 years. It just works better when someone pays for something versus they getting something free, just from my experience, so, but again, don't let me forget about the 2 free courses. So let's get into tonight's topic: wholesaling houses with taxes, mortgages, or liens. Can I wholesale a house if it has a mortgage? Can I wholesale a house if there are taxes that are owed? Can I wholesale a house if there are liens on the property? All right. What type of taxes? Normally, as it says, it's going to be back taxes on the property, either from the county, state, or the city, or a combination of the 3. As far as a mortgage, it could be 1, 2, 3. It can be multiple mortgages on the property, but normally the first position mortgage is the one that matters the most. Anything else would be just a lien. A lien could be anything from maybe the city, the county, the state. It could actually be a tax lien from the IRS. It could be a lien from not cutting the grass, or from demolition on the property, or it could be a construction lien, or what they call it. I can't think of the name of the lien with someone. If they've done some work on your property and you don't pay them, they can go put a lien on it, and it has to be justified. It could be a creditor that puts a lien on your property. So there are all types of ways that some type of encumbrance can be placed on a mechanic's lien. There you go. Hey, that's what I'm talking about, Tanja. A mechanic's lien. That's what it's called when someone does some work on the property for you and you don't pay them. They go put a mechanic's lien on the property. So if you ever tried to sell it, they have to be contacted, and that debt has to be settled. Now, sometimes they can be put on there fraudulently, so I think the title company, sometimes they will, if that person doesn't respond, and it just depends, you might can get past those. But if it's a legitimate company or something, that's going to have to be paid. And sometimes they'll take a lesser amount, whatever can be negotiated. But that's what it's called, a mechanics lien. Good, good. I couldn't remember. Thanks. So let's get into it. The first thing, before you even worry about taxes, mortgages, or liens on a property, obviously you need to know if you have an actual deal or not. That's the first thing. Okay, so that starts with the price. I'm not going to get too detailed on this. That's another Flippinar for another day. But obviously, the price, what the seller is asking, and then ARV, that simply means what will the property appraise for in excellent condition, and then the repairs taken consideration, and then the taxes, mortgage, and liens are factored in on top of all of that. So first thing you have to know if you actually have a deal or not. So I'm going to get into the simplicity of some numbers here, hopefully, to make sense of it all. All right, so let's do the math. Let's do the numbers. All right, so I'm going to start. We're just going to do mortgages and taxes, and because I think you'll get the picture. And I'm going to have to do liens because it's still the same stuff. All right, so we'll assume that the price that you need in order to make the deal work is $50,000. Okay, and the actual mortgage payoff on the property is $21,000. Okay, so whenever you're talking to the seller and you're doing your discovery on them, you're asking them their name, address, and all of that, and you get down to, you owe anything on the property? And they're like, yeah. Sometimes some people, they're a little hesitant on that, but motivated sellers are not. They tell you anything you need to know in most cases. So they get down to it and say, well, I think I owe 20 something. Okay, so do you have some documentation? And they pull it out or whatever, but they may not be exact, because what you see on your monthly statement is for the mortgage notice or whatever, or what they could pull up online and print off. That's not going to be the payoff, because there may be some additional fees there, but a lot of times it may be less, maybe a little more. It just depends on what type of mortgage it is. All right, but for the sake of this example, they owe $21,000. So when you actually close on the property, all right, the seller, instead of receiving $50,000, they only receive $29,000, if my math is correct, which is the difference between the $50,000 and the $21,000. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So the price that you need, that's the contract price that you have with the seller. All right, and the mortgage payoff is $21,000. So when they close on the property, the seller receives $29,000 instead of $50,000, because the money, the $21,000, is cut by the closing attorney or the title company to be sent to the mortgage company, which they will handle. You don't handle that, or the seller handles that. The title company cuts that money first. It's not like they do it and then say, hey, y'all come in, we paid them. But they just automatically take that from the funds brought to the table, and they send it through mail or wire or however, to pay that off. Okay, so then that comes off the title company or the closing attorney's account. Okay, let's flip the script on this. All right, now the price that you need is $50,000 to make your deal work. But they owe $62,000 is the payoff. There's no deal there, because your number to make it work for you is $60,000. Now it's $50,000. Now you can flip that to something else, to a lease option or something like that. But as far as a wholesale deal, unless the seller is willing to bring $12,000 to the table to make it work, not going to happen. Not going to happen. I actually think I had an opportunity like that a few months back, and I didn't seize on it. I think she was willing to come to the table with money to close the deal, and I didn't seize on it. I ended up only making $1,500 on that deal because I didn't do that. That was going to be the first time that all the deals I've done, that was going to be the first time that's ever happened. So, but for the sake of this, to keep it clean, we won't get into all that crazy stuff. But so 50,000 is your number. They owe 62,000. There's no deal there, because they owe more than what price works for you. I think that's what may confuse people sometimes. And then sometimes some sellers, and then you have to understand, sellers are not in the real estate business a lot of times. They just have a piece of real estate. It can be totally two different things. So sometimes a seller may say, "Hey, yeah, I'll sell it to you for 50,000, but I want 12,000." So, but they're taking it. See, they're taking in consideration their mortgage. You know what I'm saying? They know what they have an idea what they owe, but they still want to walk away with this amount of money. So instead of them saying, "I want," we'll just say use 20,000 as the number, but they want to walk away from the table with $12,000 instead of telling you they want 32,000 for it. They'll just say, "I want 12,000 for it," but they didn't tell you until you obviously asked the discovery question that they owe 20. You see what I'm saying? So that can be a little confused. That's why you have to ask a series of questions to make sure you get all the facts and you can proceed from there to know if you have a deal or not. So let's do this on the tax level, which is still the same stuff. All right, so your price again is $50,000 that works for you. All right, and they owe $3,500 in taxes. So instead of the seller receiving $50,000 at closing, they receive the difference between $50,000 and $3,500, which is $46,500, if my math is correct. All right, so you see the difference here. I did that with a tax because that may be a small amount when it comes to taxes. All right, so let's do it when they may be upside down. Say the price that you need is $10,000, but they owe $13,500 in taxes. All right, and so that's no deal if your price is $3. Now, when it gets that close, now there's some possible negotiations then. That's because sometimes they just want that lien off their name, and so you'll have to make the decision. Hey, you may be able to make. We'll just say you're able to make 12,000 off of it. All right. So if they're willing to work with you, you know you can make that 12. So what I would do is I would probably just say, hey, I'll go ahead and eat that 3,500 instead of making 12,000 off of it. I'll make 8,500 off of it. You see what I'm saying? By that $3,500 difference from 10,000 to 13,500 minus the 3,500 difference from my 12,000 that I thought I wanted to make. What's half of zero? You know what I'm saying? So don't pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. Don't be greedy. You know, $8,500 is still $8,500, even though you thought you maybe wanted 12. So see how that works. So but not to get confused here, this would be no deal if they're not willing to work with you. So if your price is $10,000 and the taxes that are owed are $13,500, then there's no deal. There's no deal there. All right. So again, I've already talked about this. The lien, taxes, mortgages, or liens must be paid first before anyone gets paid. And that's pretty much cut and dry. So I didn't go through liens because it's still the same math or whatever. It has to be less than the price that you need to make the deal work. So this one here is not as detailed as some of the other Flippinars, but I get this question a lot. So plus, it's a good video that'll go on my YouTube channel. So let's get into the numbers. Obviously, if you're here, you want to make money and you want to know how can I change my financial situation and what type of numbers are we talking about when you're doing deals. So we're just going to use 3 to 5 deals per month. That's a conservative number. In my opinion, from my experience, if you want to do that number of deals, it's really simple. You know, you just basically on a per day basis. I need to be talking to that many sellers per day. You can do that through a combination of ways, through some free techniques or through some paid techniques, through marketing through banner signs, direct mail, internet, social media, or then you can do just some cold calling to some for sale by owner or for some landlords, from for rent signs, online and offline. All right, so if you did one deal per month, let's say you average $5,000 to $7,000 per deal. That's 12 deals in a year. That's $60,000 to $84,000 per year. If you do two deals per month, $5,000 to $7,000, 24 in a year, that's $120,000 to $168,000 per year. 5 deals per month, $5,000 to $7,000 per deal. That's 60 deals in a year, $300,000 to $420,000 per year. They know your name at the bank. Hello, Mr. Taylor. How are you? I'm good. How are you? How are you, Mr. Banker? All right. So don't let me forget about the 2 free courses. We're going to get into the question and answer period. But realpof.com, realpof.com. If you're trying to make offers, whether it's commercial or residential, and agents are involved, brokers are involved, the only way that they're going to take you serious, you must have some form of proof of funds. You don't have to use the service that I recommend, but I do recommend it because I use it. The deals that you see on the commercial side, they come from these proof of funds. Need private money for your buyers or for yourself, just go to privatemoneylist.net. Same guy provides that service as the real proof of funds. Don't forget, follow me on Instagram at flipman.net. You see my username here. That's flipman.net. Let me go over here to the go to the chat room here. And we'll start the question and answer period of this week's Flippinar. All right. What form do you use to wholesale lease options, and where can I find them? Google is a powerful tool. There are going to be tons of there are going to be tons of of um, of there are going to be tons of documents that you can download from Google on that. You're just a Google search away, and you're just going to pick and choose what you're comfortable with. All right, next question. So once you have signed a contract with, what is the name of the paperwork you file with the courthouse? There's no paperwork that you file with the courthouse, Renee. There's no paperwork you file with the courthouse. What is the best way to get a phone number on a property owner? You can try some skip tracing stuff or techniques. Generally, you're just going to be able to get a mailing address, but you can use Intellus.com, and a lot of times you can backdoor through relatives if you don't find a phone number for that person. Now, some of the older people still have landlines, and it may just be a Google search away, and their number is right there. Keep that in mind now. Probably a good amount of real estate, especially paid off real estate, are going to be people 50 years and older. So, and a lot of them still have landlines, where a lot of people, which I guess I'm somewhere in the middle of that. A lot of us don't have landlines. We just have our mobile phones. But people like my mom, she doesn't have, well, I guess she had one that's not on, but she has still has a landline, still the number from when I was a boy. So matter of fact, I remember when they put the phone in. So that may be an opportunity. So somebody just a Google search away. So next question. Okay. Hey, we don't have any more questions. Hey, we can go on to the giveaway. I'll give it a second. All right. Someone says Google Voice. When I set up my Google Voice phone number, when a potential seller calls, do I answer or send them to voicemail? No, if you're available to answer, you always want to answer. You're not the only game in town. Remember that. You're not the only game in town. You definitely want to answer. And I forgot. I guess I deleted that slide when I was creating this particular slide here. Yeah, you can get the training. You want me to come to your city, but don't forget about the 200 free videos that I have on my YouTube channel. Just go to the YouTube and do a search for the Flip Man, and you can access those. Forgot to mention that. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notifications so you're aware when I upload new videos and content. So I guess we're a little slow on the questions. We won't hold everyone on. So I'll go ahead and choose some winners tonight. So let's see what we got. All right, I'll start on the phone number side first tonight. All right, just waiting on my little lottery ball thing here. Okay, phone number ending in. Hold on 1 second here. It's still tumbling. Uh, 5682. The actual last 7 or 504-5682. If you will text me on the number you see here on the screen. Well, you don't see this number. All right, just text me at 205-492-3425. That's 205-492-3425. 205-492-3425. You are the winner. 504 5682. 5682. All right, on the other side, give me a second here. Remember, you want to increase your entries, just invite family and friends. I don't care if you share it. It doesn't make me any difference. All right. The winner on the other side, first name starts with a J. The last name is Dye, D-Y-E. And if you'll just simply in the chat room, J Dye, if you'll text me. Send your phone number in the chat area. J-Dye, J-D-Y-E. But you see my phone number there. You can text me also. But I need to see your number also from your login here. That'll help me out. But again, I appreciate everyone coming out. Again, don't forget about the free video, the need the coaching and training. Just hit me up, flipman.net. Call or text me about it. Got any questions? But Jay Dye, you are the other winner. I wanted you to hit me up in the text area, in the chat area. But you can text me at the 205-492-3425. Okay, there you go. Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay. All right. And so we're going to go ahead and round this up for tonight. I really appreciate everyone coming out. And we'll stop the screen sharing here. And we'll see you on next week. Make sure, again, if you want to increase your entries, just friends, family members, and we'll have a different topic for next week, Flippinar. Again, I appreciate everyone coming out, and we'll see you on the flip side. Thanks.